Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So we're back on the 65 Ford Mustang. I basically put down a couple coats of the high build primer. The last video you saw some of it kind of messed up and got weird, but that's because my air pressure was off. Probably wasn't reducing enough, spraying at too high of it, like temperature outside. It's a beautiful 75 degrees today in Southern California, so should be perfect. I got my medium reducer at 65 to 80 degrees, and we're just gonna give it another try because I basically leveled everything out, sanded through some spots to the 2K epoxy coat that's underneath. So I really want to like build this high build primer up a good bit so I can get all the scratches out. I noticed a lot of little areas coming through when I was spraying that just it would make it just a beautiful finish if I could get like probably 3 good coats of the high build on. Then I can sand it back so everything's really level, flat, nice, and ready for the color coat. So with that said, go ahead and give me a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also go ahead and hit your bell notifications so you're notified every time I post a new video. Other than that, let's jump into things. Using this sim prep, and it's just a metal prep basically, and I put it in a Harbor Freight spray bottle and put some gloves on, grab some shop towels, and then also some microfiber cloths, and just really go to town on the whole car and clean off all the panels I can, you know, clean all the dust off everything. Also, one thing to note, I see a lot of people on YouTube and everything, not a lot of guys are wearing respirators when they're like spraying things, spraying like the metal prep, you know, all that stuff. Lungs are super important. Protect them. And let me tell you the difference too, because I see a lot of guys doing this too. So just a note to self, if you're thinking about doing this stuff, these right here, a lot of guys are wearing these, the P100s. These are great, but they're only particulate filters. So keep that in mind. These aren't going to keep out solvents and vapors, things like that. So harmful things. You need a vapor filter, which is what this is. This is a super high quality one. It's a 3M60-923. I highly recommend this one. This is basically the highest you can get with the all organic vapors. So do something like this because this also includes the P100 particulate filter as well as the organic vapor filters. If you can smell it, it's not filtering. So with that said, only use these for like sanding, things like that, where you have particulates, dust, stuff like that. Use these for vapor and dust, or particulate plus vapors. So yeah, anyways, just wanted to give you all the heads up there. All right, y'all, got everything wiped down with metal prep. It looks nice, clean, yay, good stuff. Blew it off with some compressed air as well, but pretty much just wiped everything down with a microfiber cloth and some sim prep, like metal prep. Next, we're gonna drop down our first coat of probably like 3 or 4. Excuse me. But probably like 3 or 4 high build urethane primer coats. Probably got about half the can left-ish. So yeah, I'm gonna start there. I'm basically spraying everything with this Endozer gun that I got off of Amazon. It actually cleaned up really well from the last time I sprayed. And I changed it to a 1.7 tip. And what I did is I dropped my air pressure down, as you can see when I dropped it down to about like 18 psi, and I'm gonna try and spray at that because I was spraying with way too much air pressure last time, and because of that I started getting a lot of dry spray and overspray. I also didn't set my gun up properly, and so I adjusted it here to where I'm getting enough fluid, I think, or will get enough fluid to like spray, but also not push it out too hard and too fast in order to get dry spray. I'm also gonna reduce it down a little bit more because it is hot and dry today. But overall, I think hopefully we'll be okay. If I spray and I start getting dry spray, I'm gonna stop and reset and see what I can do to fix this. Maybe make some adjustments on the gun, do what I can do. But yeah, our main goal is to just coat everything up really, really good and go from there. And then that way I can sand everything down, you know, with 320, 400, whatever, and get it ready for color coat. But I also got to hit it enough to where I'm not sanding through like the edges of like the body line, and I got some filler and stuff there, and you know, little spots everywhere. So I need to bring everything up kind of level. You know, it's pretty level right now, but I just need to give it all good, one good coat, and then sand it all back down to where I'm not going through to that 2K epoxy primer. Sorry if it's super loud in here. I got the fans going. Just sprayed. Anyways, so I ended up adjusting everything on my spray gun. It turned out I got way less overspray this time. Still was getting a little bit. This stuff is just so thick, even though I reduced it down like a ton, that it was just, and I dialed back the pressure even on my tank and on the gauge going into the gun. I reduced it so much, and I was just getting like thick spray splatters if I would reduce it too much, and then if I turned it up it would atomize a little too much. So I was trying to find the balance in between the whole time, and I feel like it did okay. It did enough to lay down and not like create a ton of dust, and then some of the dust I was able to wipe off and then just kind of adjust and start over. But this is what we got. I mean, it's pretty good, except for this is right when I started spraying. At the very first pass I did right here, and I had the gun, there's too much paint coming out, so I adjusted it back a little bit. But yeah, and then everything else looks really good. I was able to hit everything with one solid coat, and then a lot of places with like I doubled up that, you know, maybe there was some unevenness or whatever, you know, here and there, but I really didn't have much paint left, so I didn't have enough to do like 2, 3, 4 coats like of the full car, unfortunately. So what I'm gonna do is sand everything down, sand it smooth with like, I don't know, 400 to 600 grit, and hope that I don't have any sand throughs. And then if I don't, then we'll color code it and call it a day. So I'm tired of painting, and I want to get this thing on the road. I want to get done and start on the newest project out there. So yeah, with that said, gotta get to sanding now. Now this stuff cures pretty quick. You can start sanding it back pretty quick. I'm gonna let it sit for a couple days before I sand, probably, I don't know, 2 days, maybe 3. And I'm gonna start with like a 320, maybe higher, and start just blocking it out, smoothing it out, you know, getting all these little indentions down and everything, all the little scratch marks that I've filled, try and level some of those things and get everything really smooth for the final coat of color and clear. So yeah, that's where we are. Everything's curing right now, drying. The fumes are not bad at all. This stuff is like super low VOC. Zero VOC hardener, and then 2.1 VOC urethane prime with the 0 VOC reducer. And the reason I did that is because I live in California and I have to use a no or low VOC paint. Unfortunately, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, right? We're pretty limited here as to what we can use California, you know, for solvents and things like that. So, you know, we got a lot of laws around that. So we go with what we can, and luckily companies make products that, you know, that work or work well enough. All right, y'all. So I decided to go ahead and test wet sanding on the hood. And I tested it with a 400 grit and then 500 grit. I noticed that 400 was a little too aggressive, and I got a sand through right here at the beginning. So I ended up switching to a 500 grit, and I'm just basically spraying it down, wet sanding everything. And it's coming out really, really nice. Super, super smooth. I'm getting all the orange peel off for the most part, or at least trying to. And since I'm wet sanding everything, I don't have to worry about dust, which is nice, but it does make a mess. So yeah, start knocking out the rest of the car. It's gonna take a while, so good times, good times. All right, y'all, so it's Saturday today, which means I got some time and I'm sanding away. So check this out. This is something I thought was pretty cool. Didn't realize I could do this, so I've been wet sanding everything with about 500 grit. I'm not sanding up to 500. I'm literally sanding with 500, and I'm wet sanding. I just got this Duragold, these sheets. I think it's like 25 wet dry sheets, and they last a while. They're pretty good, actually. I've gotten Duragold stuff before, but highly recommend. I got some 400 and some 500 grit. I didn't put a ton of this high build primer down because I ran out, so I ended up just sanding with 500, and I'm using a few different things here. So I'm using this this block, and it's actually, you can hook it up to a hose. It's got, literally has a hose attachment on it, and then you can control the amount of water that comes out. But I decided it's lighter than my other blocks, so I decided not to hook it up to a hose because that just sounds like a lot. But what I'm doing is I'm just using a spray bottle, just a generic spray bottle, filling it with water, and wet sanding everything that way. Pretty cool thing. So I was watching some videos on wet sanding cars, and I didn't know, excuse the mess on my workbench, it's terrible. I didn't know you could actually put down a dry guide coat and then use that while you're wet sanding. I thought it would just come off with wet sanding, but it doesn't, and it's been total game changer because I've been having to like get it wet, shine the light, look for like imperfections. Anyways, just started doing this and it's amazing. So check it out. This is the finish I'm getting so far. I'm gonna have to go over this with like a sealer coat in some areas, like this where I sanded through. Got down to the 2K epoxy, some other little spots on the edge here, some other little spots, you know, all over the place. But yeah, I'm just making my way around, and it is really, really smooth. It's actually turning out great. I don't know if you can see like the shine off of it, you know. It's only 500 grit, so that's about as high up as I want to go with anything. Yeah, you can tell I missed a few spots here, which you could see. I'll show you real quick how this kind of works. So we put a little dry guide coat there, put a little right there. You can see where it kind of sits in the indentions there, as well as on top. And what I do is I'm just gonna put it right here like this. Actually, I missed a lot. See, this is why this is good. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my sandpaper. You can either, I have some that I'm taking by hand that I'm hitting like little areas with, or taking my block and then wetting it down slightly. So I'm spraying this over, got my bucket in place, and you can see still kind of sanding at an angle here. But you can see how it removes a lot of the material, and then you can see where I need to keep sanding a bit so I can hit that flat, smooth bottom there. So yeah, now we're good on that spot. See, it's pretty sweet. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now and what I'm doing right here. Yeah, you can kind of see how it works. Till all those little gray dots are gone, essentially. And that's kind of what I'm doing. So I finished basically just going through with 500 grit sandpaper and, you know, flattened everything out, got everything really nice. It's actually kind of shiny on top, which I'm like, ooh. It's all wet sanded, but hopefully that's good enough. Hopefully it's not like too slick. But wanted to get everything pretty good and cleaned up. So what I decided is, since I'm not gonna like redo the whole car, because there's just no need for that, that would be kind of crazy. I wanted to kind of try a little experiment and end up running a touch-up gun. So like, I got this HLVP tiny little touch-up gun from Harbor Freight. I thought the spray radius pattern would be smaller, it might be a little easier to just touch up some of those small areas. Don't know how small it is, so thought we'd open it and find out. Oh wow, this is really small. Okay. I didn't know it was gonna be that tiny. Jesus, look at that little, it's like a baby gun. Okay, compared to a regular size gun, that's like, it's a baby. It's a tiny baby. It's a tiny little baby. I mean, look at the size of the cup in comparison. Like, we'll take some spray gun cleaner here and just 3M from Harbor Freight. Clean this thing out and call it a day. I want to get everything like sealed up, and the reason we use a sealer or use a high build primer and reduce it down to a sealer is so that we have one like level color coat for the base color coat to go over. So if that makes sense, like if you're spraying a metallic, for example, and I have these spots that are lighter, like the 2K epoxy, the white that's showing through this gray, if I were to spray color over that, there's a chance that I'm gonna see these show up as lighter in, like, let's say in the sun or in different lights. So I want to have it like all one cohesive color that I can throw the base coat down on, so that I don't see any like imperfections come through on the color coat. So that's why we got to seal it up. That's basically the only reason we use a sealer, color, like to have one uniform base for the color coat to go over. So yeah, let's do it. Y'all, so check it out. Here's where we are. I ended up using this actually pretty awesome little teeny tiny guy spray gun here from Harbor Freight. This thing worked really well, surprisingly. The cup is so tiny on it compared to a normal sized spray gun, and I didn't think it would last more than like a few little sprays, but it actually atomized really well, surprisingly, and sprayed really nice, and it lasted so long, like the little cup, because of how it sprayed with the small tip on it and everything. And it sprayed the primer really well. I reduced it down a lot more than usual, but I didn't get any like, or much atomization. Like a little bit on these heavier sprays that I did, you can see the darker like line out here, but it's not really that much atomization. It's just a little rough surface, but I'm just gonna hit all that with like some spray. There's a little bit more here. Some of it you can't even really tell. I mean, like some of it you can in the light, right here, right there, right there. I just touched up the areas that were like showing through with the 2K epoxy primer, because that's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to recoat the whole car and then have to sand it again, because this primer, for some reason, I guess it's because it's thick and it's a high build, I wasn't able to get it to atomize properly, and it's probably my spray guns, honestly, and the air setup and all that. I don't know. Not a professional by any means. This is my first time doing it. So I just wanted to touch up the areas rather than coat the whole car again and then immediately paint. I'm going for like a mechanical adhesion, not a chemical one, because also I didn't have the paint ready, but I had to get it like touched up because there were some bare metal spots. So I figured I could just do another once over with 500 grit, like wet sand the areas that I touched up and get everything nice and, you know, sanded down again. Then I can order the paint, you know, my color coat, base coat, and do all that from there. So that's kind of where we are. And it touched up really, really nice. I mean, really nice in a lot of spots. Like, it's pretty awesome. I'm really pleased with the way that gun sprayed. Like, now I'm like, man, I wish I could have done the whole car with this little tiny baby gun, because it did so well. It didn't give like super thick coverage, but it allowed for me to spray it clean and then come back and spray over it again. And I was able to touch up like really small spots. So it didn't like bleed out into a lot of areas. So I highly, highly recommend this little Central Pneumatic HVLP touch-up spray gun. Highly recommend it. This thing was great. I like it better than the purple gun that like where you can get it for like $10 sometimes when it's on sale. Yeah, this one. I mean, I liked it better than this one. But this one's still a good buy for the money. If you can get it while it's on sale for 10 bucks, it's amazing. I got this one on sale for super cheap, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, and then I've got this low volume, low pressure air spray gun that I'm gonna use to do the color coat and clear coat. And we'll see how that goes. That way I'm not eating up a ton of air and having to run the compressor nonstop, which gives me moisture in my line. That little tiny little spray gun also didn't run my compressor constantly, so that was really, really nice. In next video, I'll be color coat, clear coat, and then we'll be done with the body. And then after that, just gotta reassemble everything. Put all the glass back in, all the trim, all the good stuff and everything. We'll get this sucker on the road because it's about time. All right, so thanks y'all for sticking around on another one. The sanding, priming, I know it's not that exciting, but thank you guys for sticking around. And next we're gonna lay down the color coat. Go ahead and give me a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit your bell notification so you're notified every time I post a new video. Yeah, we're gonna change it up. It's not just gonna be painting and priming and all that stuff the whole time, because I know that gets boring. I get bored doing that. So we're almost there. Thanks for hanging in. I appreciate y'all tuning into this build series. We're almost done with this thing. Just painting is pretty much left. After painting, got a little bit of mechanical stuff to do, but my hope is to get this on the road within the next month. So that's the goal. Yeah, we'll see, because I got the next project out there in the driveway, which is ready to go. Ready to get it in the garage, ready to pull the engine, start working. We're doing all sorts of cool stuff to that one. So stay tuned, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Thank y'all so much. See ya.